Little Red Riding Hood. In a quiet village, there lived a sweet little girl, loved by everyone who knew her, and she was called Little Red Riding Hood because of her red hood, a gift from her grandmother. Her mother was preparing a basket of bread and fruit for her grandmother, who wasn't feeling well, and Little Red Riding Hood was excited to visit her. Little Red Riding Hood's mother told her to take the basket to her grandmother and to stay on the path, and not to talk to strangers, and Little Red Riding Hood promised to be careful. Little Red Riding Hood walked through the forest, singing and humming, enjoying the beautiful scenery, with the sun shining and birds singing their sweet melodies. As she walked, the trees seemed to grow taller, and the path grew narrower, and Little Red Riding Hood felt a sense of excitement and adventure. Suddenly, a sly wolf appeared from behind a tree, and Little Red Riding Hood felt a sense of surprise and curiosity. The wolf approached Little Red Riding Hood and said, "Good day, little one, where are you going with that basket?" And Little Red Riding Hood innocently told him she was going to her grandmother's cottage. The wolf's eyes gleamed with cunning, and he thought of a wicked plan, and he hurried ahead, faster than Little Red Riding Hood could walk, and reached the cottage first. The wolf knocked on the door, and when grandmother asked who was there, he disguised his voice and said it was Little Red Riding Hood, and grandmother, not suspecting anything, opened the door. The wolf leapt inside and locked the poor grandmother in the cupboard, and then disguised himself in her clothes, and waited for Little Red Riding Hood to arrive. When Little Red Riding Hood arrived, she noticed something strange, and she said, "Grandmother, what big eyes you have," and the wolf replied, "All the better to see you with, my dear." Little Red Riding Hood asked about her grandmother's big ears, and the wolf replied, "All the better to hear you with," and Little Red Riding Hood felt a sense of unease. She asked about her grandmother's big teeth, and the wolf replied, "All the better to eat you with," and Little Red Riding Hood felt a sense of fear. The wolf sprang from the bed, ready to pounce, and Little Red Riding Hood tried to run, but the wolf was too fast, and he was about to catch her. Just then, a brave woodcutter, passing by, heard the commotion, and he rushed inside, axe raised, and shouted, "You wicked wolf! Leave them alone!" The wolf, surprised by the woodcutter's sudden appearance, stumbled backward, and Little Red Riding Hood took advantage of the distraction to run to safety. The woodcutter, with one swift strike, defeated the wolf and freed grandmother from the cupboard, and Little Red Riding Hood was overjoyed to see her grandmother safe and sound. Grandmother, though shaken, was grateful to be alive, and she hugged Little Red Riding Hood tightly, and the woodcutter smiled, happy to have saved the day. The woodcutter, Little Red Riding Hood, and grandmother sat down to rest and recover from their ordeal, and they talked about their experience and how they were grateful to be safe. Little Red Riding Hood learned a valuable lesson about the importance of being careful and cautious when talking to strangers, and she promised to always stay on the path. Grandmother, safe once more, reminded Little Red Riding Hood that kindness must be paired with caution, and that she should always be careful when walking through the forest. The villagers, hearing about the woodcutter's bravery, celebrated his heroism, and they all came to visit grandmother and Little Red Riding Hood to make sure they were safe and sound. From that day on, Little Red Riding Hood visited her grandmother every day, always staying on the path and being careful, and the wolf was never seen again in the forest. The story of Little Red Riding Hood spread throughout the land, teaching children the importance of being careful and cautious when talking to strangers, and the villagers lived happily ever after. The villagers never forgot the story of Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf, and they always told it to their children and grandchildren, as a reminder to be careful and cautious when walking through the forest. Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother, still recovering from her ordeal, was happy to see her granddaughter every day, and the two would spend hours talking and baking together. The woodcutter, hailed as a hero, continued to protect the village from any harm, and the villagers would often invite him to join them for celebrations and feasts. As the years passed, Little Red Riding Hood grew up to be a kind and wise woman, always remembering the lessons she learned from her grandmother and the woodcutter. She would tell her own children and grandchildren the story of the wolf and the woodcutter, passing down the lessons of kindness, caution, and bravery to the next generation. The memory of the wolf and the woodcutter served as a reminder to always be kind and cautious, and to never stray from the path, especially when walking through the forest. The woodcutter's bravery and selflessness inspired the villagers to be more courageous and to always stand up for what is right, even in the face of danger. The villagers continued to live in peace and harmony, thanks to the bravery of the woodcutter and the lessons learned from Little Red Riding Hood's encounter with the wolf.